This is a Bloody Vegans production.
I just flew around until I started recording. I had a radar hit, and I hit it was green with like 30 knots, and there was something there. It looked like a...
So, Kate, it would be awesome to get started with a little bit of your journey into the world of veganism. What brought you here?
Well, I'd been overweight by about 10 stones for about 10 years, and every January I'd kind of think, let's get all motivated again and try something new and sort my life out. And I just decided last year to just try something that I'd not tried before. And I'd heard that, because a friend of mine had gone vegan the year before, and she's really healthy, has loads of energy, and she sort of inspired me a little bit. And I thought, well, I haven't tried that. That's something new. Let's just give it a go. It's only a month. I think I can do without cheese for a month. And I'll see how I get on. So that's kind of how I started. It was let's have an open mind and try something new.
And what was your kind of knowledge level around veganism before going into that challenge at the beginning of January last year?
To be honest, I hadn't really given it an awful lot of thought. In my mind, it was all about what you couldn't have, not what you could have. So I thought of a vegan as someone who couldn't have cheese and can't have milk chocolate. I wasn't so much about it, which is quite a negative way of looking at things. And I was surprised that that's how I thought. But I guess food was, and still is, a massive part of my life. So in my head, it was something other people did, but it was all the things that I liked that I couldn't have. And I didn't really think past that, if I'm honest.
Did you expect to get on with it, sort of deep down, internally? Did you think this will be like loads of us have made resolutions in January and we've decided we're going to do something different? And if I think to my own experience, maybe this is just me, but I think deep down, somewhere internally, I probably thought, this probably won't work, but I'll give it a go. Whether it be in the past when I used to smoke or weight loss, I had a similar story to yourself in terms of like losing a fair bit of weight. Actually, before veganism, but January kind of was a kick-off point for me for years. I'd always say, this year it's gonna be different.
This is my year.
Deep down, I kind of knew it probably. Yeah, deep down, I probably had a sort of inkling it wasn't going to, because I kind of thought, well, I won't be able to stick to this stuff. It's really difficult. What was your feeling like?
I honestly thought it would be hard to stick fit for a month. I had no intention of doing it long term. The thought really of not having these things that I really enjoyed, cheese again. There's a bit of a theme here. I don't have cheese. The thought of doing that long term, it just didn't even enter my mind. So I just thought it would be something that I knew I needed to make changes, but I thought, in a way, almost like a cheat, really. I thought, but this way I only have to change for a month and I'll probably feel better and it'll be a good kickstart. So I really did think of it as a small chunk, and it was just something I would do to kick off January. But I didn't for a million years think that I would never eat cheese again, or actually get to the point where I don't want to. That didn't even enter my mind, that I would choose not to, and the thought of it, there's no way I would do it now, ever.
That's really interesting. Not that you necessarily thought it would fail, but you thought it will be a good jump off, but that will be a jump off, a jump off to maybe something else, maybe a more moderated version of what you were doing before, just a slightly cheeseless, slightly chocolateless version of your omnivorous diet. So why Veganuary specifically? You mentioned there was a sort of a friend influencing that, but why was it specifically the organisation of Veganuary? What was it that attracted you to that particular kind of methodology or that kind of focal point? I
think the other side of it was I guess with the animals and the environment, like that was there. It was running in the background. Right. It wasn't, but of all the things that I thought I could do, it's twofold really. I hadn't tried this before, so it was something new and refreshing that I like to jump into something and then go for it. So there was that side, it was new, but then there was also the other aspects of veganism ticking along, and I thought, well, that helps those things as well. So that kind of sold it then. It's like I've got support for a month, it's only a month, it's new, and there's the plus sides of you know, the animal welfare and the environment. So all those together, it seemed the right direction to go, and the best option I had, I think.
Yeah, I mean, always help. It does always help when there's a greater sense of purpose to these things, isn't there?
Yeah.
Unlike, you know, whatever other crazy kind of diets come out that you sort of in January we've all succumbed to. There's not really a purpose-led element to them, whereas, you know, this definitely has that.
Yeah, it's got that as well, which is great.
Yeah, 100%. What was your experience like of other vegans? Did you know many other people who were vegan before taking on Veganuary?
Not really, if I'm honest. I've met more since, because I've met more people, because my life's changed. But I only really had a handful of friends, only the one that was a close friend. But I'd had quite a few vegetarian friends. But
Right.
if I'm honest, I had no idea what I was going to be eating for the month, because, like I said, I'd only really focused
Right.
on what I couldn't have. So it was really...
Sure.
What's nice about Veganuary is that then, because loads of supermarkets bring stuff out for Veganuary, I kind of sort of went, right, I'll go and try out all this stuff for a month, which was quite, you know, if you love food like I do, that's quite exciting.
So tell me about sort of, you know, day one, week one. What you mentioned, what, you know, that sense of like, I know what I'm not eating.
Yeah.
What am I eating? Where did you start? What did that look like? Obviously, you said the supermarkets were kind of helpful, but what were the first kind of few days like in terms of your day-to-day eating?
I had to really stop and think about it and make a bit of a plan, because all my go-to things, like at the weekend, I'd always have scrambled egg on toast. I suddenly had to think, right, what am I having now? I need to go shopping. I need to make a plan. And by chance, I've been bought a NutriBullet for Christmas, so I thought, oh right, well I'll do some smoothies then, and then I started from there, really, just having a few things, my go-to things, like I made a breakfast smoothie with some plant-based milk and some fresh frozen fruit, and I've added protein powder to it now, vegan protein powder. But at the start, I just thought, oh well, I'll make some smoothies then. You know, I've got this new device. But I did have to think, right, let's get a few staples in. But it wasn't long really. Once I think I just popped to the shop on New Year's Day before I did a proper shop and just got some vegan mince. And then I thought, well, actually, there's loads of staple stuff that I cook in the week. You know, your spag bol, your lasagnas. I hadn't even thought that pasta would be vegan. I don't know why. I know fresh pasta isn't, but
Right.
you know, your dried pasta is. And I thought, well, actually, there's loads of meals that I already do that I only have to do a quick swap. So the first few days we did that,
Yeah.
really, because it was really straightforward. Get a breakfast smoothie going, and then some normal staple meals. And it was only after that I thought, right, let's go to the supermarkets and try out all the different versions of mince and find the one we like the best, and went from there, really.
When you did the substitution route, which many folks kind of start with that, you know, I'm going to make a lasagna, but I'm just going to do, you know, my vegan version of it, vegan mince, vegan cheese, that kind of stuff. What did you what were your initial thoughts? Sort of, you know, truth be told, were you kind of thinking this is the same, better, worse? Where was your head at with it initially?
Initially, I thought I would, instead of having meat substitute, I'd go down the have more vegetables instead of meat, like butternut squash or something. But then my partner said that he would do it with me at home to make the cooking easier, but he would prefer the meat substitute. So then I thought, oh, okay, well, that would help. That definitely help with the cooking. So we'll do that. I don't know, my instinct was that it wouldn't taste very nice. But the
Right.
first, and which is terrible, really, but that's just what my instinct was. But I thought, well, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's much easier to do it that way, so let's do that. So, and do you know what? The first mince I tried, I thought, that's delicious. And that's when I really realised that I've been wrong and looked at this wrong and negatively in so many ways. You know, I'd focus on what I couldn't have to start with. And as soon as I switched and went, well, let's look at what I can have, all these things that I know how to cook, you know, after a busy day when you're tired, you know, it's easy to whack up a spag bowl and it tastes delicious. That's when it starts to dawn on me that I need to be really open-minded here, because I'm just scratching the surface. And actually, this is so much more positive. I'm enjoying my food. I had this idea that without meat, I wouldn't be full. And especially being so much bigger as well, you know, I like to feel full. And I don't know where that came from. I just assumed that you needed meat for that. And there I was in the first week having delicious meals that were really easy. I didn't really have to change a lot. And I was full to the brim. And, you know, and it wasn't really wasn't long before, because I drove quite a long time in the car and used to wear jeans to work. You know, it really wasn't long before, like the waistband that used to dig in a bit was loosening. And, you know, within like a week or so, I could feel my difference, which I thought. So it was just all these positive things coming on really, really quickly, really at the start, as if it was like, yeah, come on, go for it, Kate, this is working.
And I guess fundamentally, unlike perhaps previous kind of, you know, January resolutions and so on, you didn't feel like you were depriving yourself.
No, not at all. And almost instantly, as soon as I started, it was never about what I couldn't have. It just, you know, and maybe I'd made a note to myself, I'm not sure, because I don't really like to think like that. So maybe I'd had a word with myself, but to be honest, I think it just never came up. It was always, oh, look at this new thing I can try, or let's try out this, let's tweak that. And it was all suddenly about everything I could have. And, never deprived at all. And I don't think I've ever really gone, oh, apart from the odd time I go to a restaurant and there's hardly anything there, which is very rare.
Right.
But yeah, it's usually just, you know, what shall I eat next?
What about the people around you? How did they react when they heard you were going to take on Veganuary?
It was quite mixed. A few of them were just like, oh, well, what do you eat? I had that quite a lot. What on earth do you eat? And it's funny because that used to really wind me up. And I'd just be like, the same as you. I just substitute my meat for something else. I still have normal things. So generally it was very positive, and I don't think everyone could see that I needed to lose weight and that I was trying something proactive about that. So, you know, I think that was underlying. Everyone thought, well, you know, she's trying something new. Maybe this one will work. You know, everyone's seen me try and be on diets before and it not work. So I think everybody was, you know, supportive in that way. But a lot of people would say, oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, I love my meat. I couldn't do that. And then it did get... People would bring it up a lot at the start. Just like... You know, we'd never talk about our food beforehand. And all of a sudden, it's the topic of conversation all the time. And I remember my partner saying, oh, you know, I think you talk about being a vegan quite a lot. You know, just be mindful of that. You do talk about it a lot. And I said, next time, you know, we're talking to others, just double check. Am I bringing it up or are they bringing it up? And he was like, yeah, you're right. They're bringing it up all the time. And it was, so I'd quite often have the same conversation over and over again. You know, what do you eat? And are you still doing that? And then in February, it was like, oh, you're still doing that. And it'd just go around in circles, really. Oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, okay.
Were you surprised by what some of the, perhaps the kind of challenge that you had from some of those friends and family? Did you find yourself in any of those kind of debates about, you know, the nutritional benefits of veganism, or the actually, you know, it doesn't have that much of environmental impact? You find yourself in a lot of these debates, or at least I did when I transitioned in. Suddenly everybody expects you to be an expert in every angle of veganism because you've sort of decided to take it on. Was that your experience, or did you have a different one?
Yeah, it was quite similar. I remember someone criticised me for using aloe vera after sun, over the summer because
Right.
it's killing killing rainforests, and how should I be doing that if I'm a vegan? And I didn't really know what to say there. Like, I don't know. I've just bought this after sun that's got aloe vera in it. I haven't changed my decisions. I haven't really thought about that, and I'll look into that. Thank you. A friend of mine is a fisherman, and I think he felt quite defensive of me going vegan, and that could have got awkward. But we are good friends, so but I think he felt the need to defend himself a bit, and I didn't really want to go there because I understand he makes a living, and yeah, it can be a bit awkward. But other than that, no one really went down talked to me about that. They were just so sort of food fixated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. At what point did you sort of start to think, do you know what, this might go beyond January?
I think probably the third week in February. That's when I really noticed the energy surge. I got out of bed one day and I thought it was because I just sleep really heavily, but I used to, I think, lean on my dressing table to get up out of bed, and I didn't even know I did that. But I got up one day and I just felt like I sprung up, and that's when I realised, oh yeah, I normally lean, and I thought, oh, weird. And the next day I did it again, and I noticed that I was just getting up loads quicker, and by this point I had, my jeans were getting a lot looser. In 3 weeks, I think I'd lost the best part of a stone. I know when you're bigger, you lose weight quicker. And that's when I thought, oh, I don't really want to give this up yet. I think I'll do a bit longer. And I said to my partner, I think I'm gonna go on to February just because this kickstart's going well. He's like, yeah, sure, yeah, the food's great. I'm happy if you're happy. Let's do it a bit longer. And then it just got to March, and I don't think either of us said anything. We'd kind of forgotten about it. That's just what we did now. And
Really?
Yeah, so I don't think we even had the conversation. And it wasn't until someone said, "Oh, you still doing that?" I was like, "Yeah, I am. I'm just doing it now." And I said, "Yeah, I don't really know when I decided, but I can't imagine going back now." And they did ask, "Oh, don't you miss cheese?" And I said, to be honest, I thought that I'd be sort of stood at this cheese aisle looking at it, dreamingly, going, I wish I could have you. And I haven't felt the need to do that once. I think the thought, if you'd have said back, in the first few months, would you like this, milk chocolate or something, or cheese? Not so much meat, funnily enough. But I would have thought, no, I've got too much to lose. The joy that used to bring me is massively trumped by what I've gained now. And I knew then, I think, as soon as I had that conversation, which was probably about mid-March, I thought, oh yeah, you couldn't make me change now. I've got too much to lose. And too good a feeling to lose. Wow. And that was it, really. Never look back again.
How's life evolved for you over the kind of time since last January to here?
Oh, it's been so massive, but all in a good way. I think the energy surge then, it really, really made a difference. And I used to always think that when I was losing weight, if I said to myself, oh, maybe this time I'll do it, that would almost jinx it and then it would go. So I tried not to say that to myself. I'd just be like, right, well, one thing you've learned is to be open-minded. You thought that this wouldn't be anywhere near as successful, so let's just keep an open mind and just try new things. So I started doing a bit of yoga when I got in from work, and then doing an evening walk with my partner after tea, just a 20 minutes in the total flat, so that it was always achievable, something small. So I started doing that because I had the more energy, and then loved both of the things. You would look forward to it after dinner. Let's let our dinner go down and go for our walk. We call it the loop. Let's go do the loop. And although it's quite repetitive, it's not when you live by the sea because it looks different every time. which is handy.
Yeah.
So I think if I didn't, we'd have to change it up a bit. But walking and a bit of yoga then led to I'll try Couch to 5K, which then led to joining like a local fitness group and doing running courses. I'm just doing a 5 to 10K running course at the moment and signing up for races. And then in the summer we both got bikes as we both felt so much better. And swimming's my favourite thing, and that was always my go-to activity and what I did when I was younger. And then I decided, my brother did a triathlon and his son did one as well, and I was so envious. I thought, oh, that sounds amazing. But that was probably June, and I'd lost a few stone by then, but I didn't think I'd actually be able to do one. And then halfway through the summer, I just changed and I signed up for one for the end of September. And that was it then. I was in training and I felt like a completely different person. Like, I'm an athlete now. And that was it then. We were running and swimming and cycling. And I did my little super sprint triathlon at the end of September and absolutely loved it. And along with that I joined an open water swim group and met some amazing people. And and paddleboarding, got into that because I always had a board, but I could never really get up on it. Once I was up, I was okay, but the actual getting up was really hard, just being so big, really, and I wasn't very good at going from my knees to my feet, just because too much bulk, it's really hard to balance. But as I lost weight and got much more flexible and movement was easier, did a lot more paddleboarding and met other people through that, and it's amazing. Like today, my day off, I've met up with a girl who I swim with, and we went and did a workout on the beach this morning. And I just feel like my life this January is so different to last January when I was just coming into it all. And this year, just like being a different person.
What an incredible story. It must sort of feel like almost a rewinding of the clock, almost to getting your life back in certain aspects, doing things that you did when you were a kid that you felt like you couldn't before. Yeah,
I think I lost as I got bigger. I lost more and more habits, and I lost more and more of Kate, really. And then I used to go and do things all the time, and I'd it'd be a nice crisp January afternoon and I'd go for a walk back in the day, and then I just lost all of that, all of that oomph. And now it's like Kate is back and I'm doing the things that she loves, and my partner's coming along with me, and it's been great for us too, spending all this extra time together and doing positive things together. And it's almost like I've just feel like me again. It's wonderful.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible and so inspiring to hear that Veganuary sort of kicked that journey off. How's your veganism evolved over the course of this time? Because I guess there's obviously the nutrition elements and obviously the health benefits that you've felt. Have you explored more into different avenues of it? Has that been sort of relevant to you at various points?
Yeah, I have explored into it, and if anything, and it's just confirmed that this is the way I want to be and how I want to live my life, and how much I couldn't go back. I've got a leather jacket that I was trying to slim into. That I'm not there yet, but there's no way I can wear that now. I just can't, and so I'll give it to the charity shop. But the environmental side and the animal side, although that wasn't what drove me at the start. I'm so passionate about it now that there's just no way I could live my life any differently now. And I respect it's everybody's decision, but it's just for me. I couldn't ever change now.
It's so often the case, isn't it? People sort of come into it for the health, and then they end up sort of staying for the environment, the animals, and the whole package.
Yeah.
Like you said at the beginning, you were kind of aware there was extra benefits, and they were a kind of a nice byproduct almost of the healthy eating at the beginning, but they're almost on a par to drive the whole thing forward at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now it is it's nice to know that I'm doing my bit, that I can actually, I can make a difference. Like we all recycle because we want to make a difference, and I feel like I'm making the biggest difference that I can, and that is nice. I know there's a long way to go, and I know there are lots of things that as a global community we need to fix. But it's nice to know that as one person in Devon, I'm doing the best that I can here, and then for what started as a weight loss journey has then given me all this extra ways to help the world and help the animals and help the climate, and I'm thankful that my weight loss journey is enabling me to do these things as well. It's lovely.
Incredible. Have you found much of a community around you in Devon? I ask because my limited perception from childhood holidays and living a brief period in Devon, actually, I lived in Newton Abbot of all places after university for about 3 years probably. And I wasn't vegan at the time, but my limited experience would tell me that you probably got, I'd imagine there's probably some friendliness towards veganism in like Totnes and maybe Exeter. And then I would, my naive perception would be that everywhere else is a bit probably, there's a lot of fishing, like you said, there's a lot of pasties, clotted cream, those kind of wonderful things that we enjoyed as kids on holiday. And I wouldn't necessarily associate a lot of Devon with vegan options. Is that the case? Have things changed? Have you kind of found a community around you?
I think that a lot of places have gone with it. So things like any new startup tends to have all the vegan options now, and a lot of the businesses around, especially around the beach, have adapted. So it's very rare that I think I've been to 2 places where I thought, oh, there's nothing for me here. But if I want to go and get not fish and chips, but go to the chippy, they've got a whole vegan section now. The ice cream places at the beach, they've got plant-based ice cream. And
awesome.
We've got like a new development with coffee startups, and they've all got vegan cakes. So it's everything new is very much come in, fresh, and is up to date with veganism, because it's so much more popular now. I think they've realised they need to. It's quite often what sells out the quickest. So I'm hoping that they realise that they, let's stock more. So loads of times in the summer, if you go for ice cream, and if there was like 4 flavours, because it used to be there would just be with the 1 flavour. Now some places will be maybe 3 or 4, but they've all sold out. and you're like, oh, come on, listen to the people, get more in. And I think the businesses that were already established, they've done a really good job at getting up to date. What I've noticed that doesn't seem to be so up to date is some of the shops, when companies bring out their vegan versions of things, that I never see that down here. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about brands, but certain chocolate bars that have brought out vegan versions, I don't see here, and I hear about them or I see them on Instagram, and you think, well, where are they? Because they're not anywhere near where I live. I go to lots of shops to check out because I think, oh, I could really eat one of them. But maybe they haven't all got down this end yet. We've got a lot, but you see things advertised on the telly and you're like, where are they then?
Well, clearly they're missing a trick. It's they've perhaps got the naive perception that I had based on childhood holidays.
Yeah.
And actually, it's things have moved on. Things have evolved.
Yeah. Stock up down here. And you quite often go to the supermarket and the vegan bit's almost empty because, or you're sort of waiting to get to it because it's quite a small section in the supermarket, and there's there might be 2 other, especially with social distancing. You don't want to, nudge right in and grab your burgers. You kind of have to wait a minute, and you're like, we need a bigger section.
So obviously a year on, has anybody you know taken it on this year, and has anybody reached out to you to sort of for any advice?
I've had people make changes that I think of.
Right.
That when we've had these discussions, like, oh well, what about tea, things like that, I'll say, well, I have oat milk. I tried all the different milks, and I personally prefer oat milk for my tea and coffee. But in my smoothies, I have this milk, and a few friends, they've changed their milk and thought, well, actually, you know what, let's give it a try.
Right.
And they haven't gone full blown vegan, but they have made some small changes, and I think for all the reasons, you know, maybe it is to be a little bit healthier and environmental and climate, I think. So definitely, I think a few different people have made a few different tweaks for their own particular reasons of the three. And that's been quite nice. And then they've just sort of asked me for ideas, or, you know, we're trying to cut down and just have, you know, red meat once a week. What do you suggest for this? And I get a few messages. Can you take which like I use like chunks. I don't know what they're called really, but just, you know, where you would have had chicken in chunks to put in like a casserole or something.
Yeah.
Someone messaged today, what chunks are you using?
Yeah.
You know, and that definitely it's inspiring people to definitely tweak and just give it a whirl, because although I've been very clear that I think it's something that suits me, and I think people have got to want to do it, haven't they? If people are up for just making little changes, then I'm like, yeah. What do you need help with? Do you want to do a recipe, or do you want me to send you a picture of what I use? And that goes down really well. They're like, oh yes, please, that'd be great. So
has there been any setbacks along the way? Has there been anything that you kind of like, if you had your time again, you wish you knew that earlier, or perhaps you would have approached something slightly differently?
I'm careful to double check online with menus now. I remember going out reasonably early in the year last year for breakfast, and it was one of the few places that just, I thought, there's nothing here, and I ended up paying £10 for some beans and tomatoes and some mushrooms, and that was it. And I kind of felt then like, oh, I'm that person that you've invited along for breakfast that can't eat anything, and I think other people felt awkward. Yeah. Because you know, really, there's only a few of us, like 3, I think. So we could have easily gone somewhere else, but we'd kind of walked a long way to go to this place, and I thought, oh, I wish I'd checked before, because I could have just looked online and saw that actually they really don't support this at all, and we could have made different plans. So, but funny enough, since then I haven't. Every time I have checked, if I am going somewhere, there's been loads. So,
yeah.
And I think
it's a solid bit of advice, though. To be fair, checking menus in advance of going to places, because I think I mean, it's better now probably than even a year ago. I think things are evolving at such a pace, but there is still an element of. There are some places where you end up with, as I call it, the kind of sides tapas. You know, you end up with like chips, a salad, a side of avocado, like completely random objects that they happen to have. And you've kind of cobbled together a menu. And it is nice to be pre-warned when you go to a restaurant thinking, I know I'm going to be on the sides tapas tonight, or I know it's going to be, you know, a Moving Mountains burger.
Yeah.
You know, you can sort of get your battle plan together.
Yeah. And I think as well, if I had my time again, I'd double check these things, and I'd also appreciate that my friends they all wanted to support me, and if I'd have said, oh, actually, can we not go there? There's nothing that I can have. In my head, I didn't want to be like the annoying vegan that, oh yeah, we can't eat there because they don't cater for me. They wouldn't have thought that at all. They would have more than happily said, yeah, you know, this is something that you're doing to try and be healthier. Of course, we'll go somewhere else. And I think I'd just not have that worry at all if I was to have it again. You know, if people wouldn't be supportive, then they wouldn't be my close friends that I'd be going out for dinner with. So I didn't need to worry unnecessarily. Although some people might have been, what do you eat? And not for me. They're not my close friends that that wouldn't, that I would go out with, who then wouldn't make a change for me. So just to not worry about that and check before, and if you need to change it, change it. If they're your friends, it's fine.
That's so true, and such good advice. I think we're often very worried about two things as sort of particularly new vegans. We're worried about talking about it too much, like to the point that you made earlier, about being those people who, the stereotype of how do you know if somebody's vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you, that kind of stuff. And we also worry about being an inconvenience. And in most cases, like you say, when you look at how many times it's brought up, it's often brought up by other people. And when you tell people even people in restaurants, and you say, "Have you got anything?" Most of the time, they're really accommodating. I've found, even if they haven't got anything on the menu, there's somebody who's interested who will say, "Well, we'll ask such and such, or we'll ask the chef." I've very rarely been sort of turned away from somewhere without any help. So I think it's such great advice.
Yeah.
Thinking about sort of this year again, going into to Veganuary and folks who are thinking about it, what would your kind of advice to them be in terms of what those first steps should look like, or at least what you believe is a good place to start?
If your mind is taking you to what you can't have, try and park that, and look at what you can have. Start looking at, what easy changes can you make? What do you really like at the moment that you could easily make vegan? And start there. For me, I love a spag bowl. It's quick, it's easy, it's healthy. Go with, try and reframe it so that you can still have what you really enjoy. And if there's certain things that you think, for me, like cheese, I wasn't just going to sit there and do a direct swap. I was like, right, let's just park that, put it over there, and let's look at what I can have. Like, what's going to be, let's go and have a look at what's out there and pick something, anything that you think looks nice, that can be your reward for making this positive change to start with. Mm-hmm. And I remember I went and got this like strawberry cheesecake thing and thought, I'm going to have that instead. And it was delicious. And I picked it because it said cheesecake on it. And I thought, well, it's obviously not cheese. Let's see what it tastes like. It was lovely. So my advice would be, don't focus on what you can't have. Look at what you can, and go and explore. Go and try new things. If you don't like it, fine. And if you do, happy days.
What a wonderful piece of advice. And what an inspiring story. It's been fantastic to hear, Kate, and more power to you. Thank you so much. Where would folks go about finding out a little bit about you? Because I know you've got a really interesting kind of Instagram which sort of charts your story. It'd be great to sort of share that with folks.
Yeah, sure. I've got an Instagram called My Tiny Positive Actions, because basically that's kind of how I've gone with it. Although some actions end up being bigger, one quick, let's try Veganuary for a month has turned into a lifelong change in diet. But they start off small and tiny. So I've got the Instagram, and then I've started doing a blog, which is just www.mytinypositiveactions.com, where I'm just trying to every Thursday summarize something that I've learned over the last year that's helped me change and make lifelong habits. And then on a Sunday, sort of how the week's gone, highs and lows, and all the things in between about when you're going through a weight loss journey, and the hurdles that you face. So if people just want a little bit of inspiration, so how do you change this habit? Like I used to come in and have cheese and crackers every day. How do you make a lifelong change like that? I'm trying to sort of share how I actually did that in real life and in a bit more detail. So that's all there if people want to read it.
Awesome stuff. Okay, I'm going to pop links to those in the show notes as well. So if folks want to check out those and find out a little bit more, they can do by following those links. So,
Lovely.
okay, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. All the best, and I'll speak to you again.
That's great. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
This is a Bloody Vegans production.